The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, Week 13 DraftKings picks and preview main slate on Sunday, Millionaire Maker slate only. If you're watching this after Thanksgiving, then of course we're not talking about the Thanksgiving games. We're also not talking about the Sunday night game or the Monday night game because those games are not on the main slate. So when you ask, where's Deshaun Watson? I'll be like, he's not on the main slate. And then you'll be like, I don't understand. The amount of comments I get like this every week, despite saying it's the main slate, is just mind-boggling. So you might say DraftKings is a solved game, but if these people are watching, it is definitely not a solved game. If you want to get into a draw for 20 DK bucks, smash the like button for the episode, leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section, and tell me any player at receiver or running back below $4,000 you would play this week on said main slate. But if you want to get in the big draw, the one for 60 DK bucks, subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast, leave a 5-star review, DraftKings handle, something you like about the show, and you will be in that draw for 60 DK dollars. And if you want to play in the Pat Mayo Experience Open DraftKings contest, the link is in the description of this video and podcast. $15 to play, 3 max entry, no rake, so $45,000 of guaranteed money. After you're getting over your turkey hangover, 3 days later, maybe you'll win $5K. I don't know. It's not going to be me, so it's best off being one of you if you go enter in the Pat Mayo Experience Open. We are recording this on a Wednesday afternoon, so if stuff changes, well, you're shit out of luck. You'll have to tune in Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time with myself and the cuss to get all the injury updates and everything like that. So if stuff goes out of date, it goes out of date. We want to have fresh content for you on a Friday. This is how we do it. Joining me on the line, as he did last week, but for golf, but it probably should have been for football now that I think about it in retrospect, from awesemo.com at JazzRazDFS on Twitter, Ben Rasa, who was second in the DraftKings Millionaire Maker. I'm sorry the Cowboys D could not come through for you.
You know what? That's all right. Close. There was a little window there where I actually thought I was going to win it because it was monsooning in New England, but old Tommy boy couldn't give me that fumble that I needed. But you know what? It was a welcome sight to finally connect in NFL.
Well, it was funny because once I noticed that you were up there, I started sweating along with you. So we can talk about the end of the game and how that could have just went disastrously.
Oh my God.
Everything broke your way at the end of the game to stay in second. But all Dallas had to do was score a touchdown at some point and get up in that game, and I think you would have got it.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping, that a rando on Dallas could score and it would force the Patriots to start throwing, because they were getting it was amazing. They could have had multiple sacks, and Brady was just throwing them up when he was forced to throw. So didn't quite get there, but you're right. On the other side, it was about to crumble. It still would have been a really good day, but I was getting caught in a hurry by Fournette and Randall Cobb. So was glad that game ended when it did.
Well, if New England had kicked that field goal at the end of the game, would that have bumped you down a bunch of spots?
Yeah. So I would have lost, I don't have it, but it's like $60,000 or $80,000, which, I thought they might kick it. Then they didn't. And I realized that I was going to win. And then somehow, some way, that clock operator needs to go, because I've never seen anything like that. And then I knew if Randall Cobb caught that last pass, that would be equally damaging. So I was sweating it till literally the last play.
Well, it's funny. The guy who was like fractional points behind you, who had Randall Cobb, I guess could have worked one of two ways. And he was a Sizzleville viewer of the show. So shout out to him for coming in third in the DraftKings Millionaire Maker. So for him, it would have cost you second place had he had gotten a catch. But if Randall Cobb had caught the pass for like 35 yards, I think he would have won.
Yeah, very possible. Because he would have got the bonus and he would have probably jumped us all. So that's how it comes down. I was fortunate enough to have the lineup in a bunch of things, which made the foundation of the week. Even if it didn't go perfectly, I knew it was going to be pretty good once that lineup made its move.
So did you end up winning the $100 single entry?
I did. Yep. I won that. I won a couple of the other smaller tournaments, and that's what, collectively it added up quickly.
Overall, how many lineups did you have in the Millionaire Maker?
20. That's it.
Is that usually what you play every week, just 20?
Yeah. I build by hand. So, if I have more time or I'm feeling, maybe I'll pump it up a little bit. But no, I usually just build 20 and I run it kind of like a pyramid. So I'll take those 20 and I'll run them in most of the smaller and medium buy-in type tournaments. And then when we get up, to the expensive ones, I take a couple of those lineups and throw them in. And then when we get to like the $4,000 tournament or something like that, I'll have a single bullet usually.
So how do you have like a process of how you decide which one's going to be your single bullet, or do you just like close your eyes and hope for the best?
So it falls in between both of those. I certainly try to build to the contest that I'm entering, and I have lineups that I do think are my better lineups. You don't always choose right. Obviously, if I knew this was going to be my best lineup, I would have used that in the high stakes tournament. I certainly did not. So it's not an exact science, as it's not going to be, but I don't blindly just pick a lineup. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I do. It's probably why I lose all the time.
Yeah. Well, that's one strategy. It only takes one though. It's amazing. 20 lineups overall. If that, my rest of my lineups were nothing even remotely close to spectacular, but that one magic bullet certainly made up for it. And then some. Yeah,
well, it probably saves your entire DraftKings year too, doesn't it?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, Griot put me in a hole with what he did at the golf championship tournament. And yeah, I mean, it can turn around that fast. So I went from having a pretty rocky 2019, up and down, to now I'm in cruise control. So I'm going to try to finish it strong. And yeah, we get a little break from golf, but we still have plenty of football to break down.
So for you, if you had to pick one, obviously you would take the $1 million, but if you could win the NFL Millionaire Maker or the Golf Millionaire Maker, which one would it be?
It would be the Golf Millionaire Maker. Yeah, I don't know. I've held the lead in that on going into Sunday, which means literally nothing when you know about how crazy those swings are, but that would be fitting to see me and Bill Haas up top in the Millionaire Maker.
Well, that means he would actually have to qualify for a major, and that might be tough at this point. Yeah. All right, let's talk about the Week 13 main slate then. Let's get into the running backs. The most expensive, not shocking. Christian McCaffrey comes in at $10,500. Then it's a precipitous drop-off to Nick Chubb at $7,800. Derrick Henry, $76,000. Fournette, Barkley, Connor, who's probably not going to play. Le'Veon Bell, Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones, Todd Gurley. That's your 65 and up top 10 most expensive running backs. Obviously, running back is the pay-up position, and I assume it's just pay up for Christian McCaffrey again?
Yeah, that seems to be, even when he doesn't play well, he gets there in the capacity of not killing you. Like, it's just incredible. Against Atlanta, no touchdowns, still has 33 DraftKings points. Last week, not a ton of yards relative to who he is, still finds the end zone twice, gives you 34 DraftKings points. So he's a staple of lineups if you can afford him. At this price, you can probably, he has to break the slate to an extreme for it to be a death sentence. But my God, you're not going to find a better play anywhere in DFS right now. The guy is unbelievable.
Well, we just talk about tournaments on this show, but if you were constructing cash game lineups, he would have to be in it, wouldn't he?
Yeah. So the way it's, again, and that speaks to, even when it goes poorly, when he catches 10 balls, how bad can it really be? So he's a staple of, I think you make the room in cash. In tournaments, of course, there's so many different permutations and options. You don't have to go there, but you have to consider it. That's for sure.
So who in that lineup that you scored big with last week, who were your running backs? Because you had Henry in the flex, right?
So no, I had Allen Hurns in the flex.
Ah, yes. He was the one guy that I got right last week. Allen Hurns, what a hero.
What a hero. No, my two running backs. So I had Derrick Henry and I had Le'Veon, who, again, I can't speak to how many things went right, of course, but Le'Veon sitting the fourth was a killer. He missed a touchdown by a literal inch, sticking the ball over the pylon. He didn't play great, but he was enough to keep me afloat in those early games.
So in these larger scale tournaments then, did you have any exposure to McCaffrey across your 20 lineups?
I did. Okay. I certainly wanted some room for him in the lineup that ended up doing really well. I had DJ Moore in there, and that was some of the leverage I got for the Panthers. But no doubt, I'm going to try to make room for McCaffrey each and every week.
So this week, if you're building with McCaffrey, do you think you can pair him up with one of these other 10 guys at the top, or are there better options the more you go down the list?
So I think as more value opens up this time of the year with injuries and stuff, you don't have to go. You have the option of paying up if you want, say, like him and Saquon or him and Josh Jacobs, who I do really like. But if you don't want to, I mean, God, I hate to just drop all the way down, but the Jaguars' run defense right now is just non-existent. So even though Tampa is a dumpster fire, I may look to get a back from there. There are a couple other guys in the mid-range that I think you can pair up and not break the bank with.
So Ronald Jones at $5,100 is someone that you're going to?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds awful when you say it like that, but I do have some interest if he's going to have 15 type touches against this. They've literally been just gashed on the ground repeatedly. And Tampa, playing a little better. So I may look to him. You've got Philip Lindsay right there as well. And even, I mean, I don't know. What do you make of this Colts situation? Because that guy, I know that game was Thursday, I believe, but 26 carries for Jonathan Williams. Is that the type of volume we're going to expect going forward?
Well, it's a really, the $5,000 range for running backs this week is super tricky because you have Mixon with Dalton back. He's been getting all the workload. You don't know what's going on with Jalen Samuels, but if Pittsburgh gets behind, then he's going to get a bunch of receptions. Eckler is just kind of a good play every week. You just have to hope he finds the end zone. If Drake is actually the guy in Arizona, he's a great play against the Rams, but you're not going to have that certainty. I think Kareem Hunt against a pretty ferocious front four and run-stopping defense of the Steelers, this does feel like a game where Kareem Hunt ends up catching like 8 passes. And I don't think a lot of people are going to own him in this contest, that at least his floor is going to be super solid. And you need him to have like a 2-touchdown day or even a touchdown day where he has like the ceiling James White performance. You could have that out of him. And then you have Miles Sanders and Jonathan Williams. Like Miles Sanders played 84% of the snaps last week with Jordan Howard out. This is, sneakily enough, a revenge spot for Jay Ajayi at $3,000 though.
There you go. Yeah, Jay Ajayi back from the dead. And it's true. You can make a case for a ton of these guys in here from Mixon all the way down to Williams. And I plan to attack this range. Like I said, regardless if you pay up for Christian McCaffrey, these are the type of guys you can use as your second, even your third running back, depending on the build. All of them have relatively good ceilings. It's more about game script because guys like Samuels, Kareem Hunt, they're not, they're going to be catching the ball. They need to probably be behind, whereas some of these other guys, you hope they're out in front and burning the clock.
Yeah, like if you think that for whatever reason that the Chargers and Browns pass a ton in their respective games and somehow they fall behind, which would go against what the spreads are telling us, then both of them become really good options.
Absolutely. And vice versa. If you think the Browns have somehow hit a groove and that Chubb can be effective, they're going to control the game. You saw it last week. Kareem Hunt, only a handful of targets. And I'm not saying that's going to be what we see each and every time, but I don't think he gets to like double-digit targets in a game that the Browns control from start to finish.
Agreed. So then you have Jonathan Williams to circle back there at $5,300. Houston's a good run defense. They've been worse over the past few weeks, especially since Watt went out. But it took Williams until carry number 19 to really get going in that game. It was encouraging for his fantasy prospects to see him on the field and catching passes over Nyheim Hines in a lot of these situations. So I do think he's a pretty decent play despite having a tough matchup against Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, he's someone, if you're going to give him that, because there's a lot of teams, I watched that game, that would have went away from him after that first half. I mean, he had a ton of carries and he was ineffective. If they're going to keep giving him the ball 20 plus times on the ground, chip in with a couple targets, well, he's going to have plenty of opportunity at this price range. And I don't know how you really turn down volume like that for a $5,300 price tag.
So it does seem like, although you mentioned Philip Lindsay, I think I'd rather all those guys over Philip Lindsay, just knowing that they're going to be in a split. And Brandon Allen just doesn't pass to running backs. So that really caps the ceiling on a lot of both Freeman and Lindsay as pass catchers out of the backfield if they're not getting the ball at all. I think the only guy that you really want to play on Denver, I guess you could use Noah Fant if you wanted to. But I think that Cortland Sutton coming off sort of a down week is in a really nice spot to rebound at receiver. So I'll probably stay away from those running backs. But if we were to pay up, let's say we don't take McCaffrey, it doesn't seem like anyone's going to own Nick Chubb at that price in this matchup. That could be a nice pivot play if you wanted to. Henry, despite a tougher matchup against Tampa, people are going to use solely because he had a giant week last week, and that's how this stuff works. Same as Fournette. Derrick Henry against Indianapolis. It's Fournette coming off the big week. People will still use him against Tampa Bay, but he's catching passes, so that's good. So that leaves Barkley, Bell, and Aaron Jones, I think, as three guys that will come in drastically under-owned on this slate. And all three of them have really nice matchups.
They do. And to me, Saquon probably the most interesting just because of how bad he's looked. Now, I don't know, of course, is he hurt? Is there something going on? But man, the price, it's a rare, it almost seemed impossible to think that you could get Saquon at this price in a good matchup with what I don't think will be overwhelming ownership by any stretch, and not love it. And yet here we are, he's kind of almost a secondary option at running back. And that has me interested against Green Bay at home for the Giants.
Yeah, I actually picked the Giants against the spread plus 6.5. I just think that their defensive line, while it's not a great run stopping unit, and hence Aaron Jones, they can attack the quarterback pretty well.
Yeah, they can get some pressure, and at home, I don't mind that. Obviously, the Packers were. I thought that was a chance for them to really state their claim in the NFC. Apparently, the Niners are that good. That's a whole separate conversation. But you have guys like Saquon, like Aaron Jones, make reasonable plays. Josh Jacobs is in a very good matchup against the Chiefs. You just have to worry about what happens if they fall way behind.
Well, that's what we've been seeing with Josh Jacobs recently. So you'd have to hope that Jacobs establishes himself on the ground early on and keeps the game competitive. If not, it's going to be Rocket Richard on the field the entire time.
Yes, it is. Which, yeah, you can't really go to him, obviously. And then other than that, though, I'm not going to touch Ingram. I'm somewhat indifferent to Le'Veon Bell.
Bell has a fantastic matchup.
Well, the Bengals I keep talking about mistakes. I keep betting the Bengals.
Well, they've covered the last 2 weeks. That's good.
Yeah. But when I bet the Bengals, I bet them on the money line like an idiot. Plus 2, it's just disturbing. I was certain they were going to beat the Steelers last week, but bringing it back, you're right. Their defense is in shambles. Le'Veon's starting to get the targets again. The touches will be north of 15 each and every week. So I don't hate it. I do think I have him behind guys like Saquon and Jacobs, though, and even Jones when you go into a pecking order.
I think I might go Bell over Saquon this week. He's cheaper. I think that the usage is, at least the usage in the passing game, where that's swung around. Darnold's actually throwing him the ball now, which is nice. Barkley had 1 target last week. Now, he should have caught it and ran it for a 70-yard touchdown, but he just dropped it. But Daniel Jones doesn't throw to the running back. That's not a part of their game plan whatsoever for unknown reasons.
Yeah, well, it's unknown. I guess for me, Le'Veon is he's clearly a better cash play. I think the floor is higher, but the range of outcomes is mitigated. Whereas I do think Saquon still has, those performances where he breaks the slate. I'm not sure how many games where Le'Veon explodes for 35 or something like that.
It's true, but you have to hope it's one of these games where it's 6 for 48 through the air and somehow he sneaks in 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's what it is. He's going to, kind of like how McCaffrey seemingly does it. He can contribute in all facets. It's just, and the Jets, I'm sure because of Cuss, they are playing better. They really are.
They are, but Cuss is losing sweat over the Bengals now, or he's losing sleep over the Bengals. He's sweating profusely because he's scared of the Bengals. It's kind of funny.
He should probably be rooting for the Bengals at this point. When the Jets end up with the 15th pick somehow, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, you have a lot of running backs. It's some in glaringly tough matchups, like you mentioned with Fournette, and then on the flip side, some of these guys with some going against the worst DVOAs in the league.
Is there anyone below $5,000 that you can see inserting into your lineup at running back? Because I'm looking at Geis against Carolina. Carolina has one of the worst run defenses. I don't know if I want to take any Redskins. It's not even like Geis is playing 90% of the snaps. He's playing 48% of the snaps, which when you play for Washington to begin with, that's bad. And you're not even playing half the snaps in your own backfield. That's kind of even worse. Chase Edmonds is back, but who knows what he's going to be like. Jamal Williams could actually be a decent play here if this game is close against the Giants.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. So Geis was someone that I was on last week, did not materialize. And I do see some merit to going back. You mentioned the Panthers are weak up front, but it's not even remotely a workhorse type situation. And we'll have to see about Chris Thompson. Do you have any interest? I know Jonathan Williams had a ton, but it wasn't at the detriment of Hines in the sense he still got 11 touches. If the game script is a little different here, do you have any interest in going to Hines at a $4,200 price tag?
I guess it depends on if the run defense of the Titans actually shows up. eventually they were able to crack Houston last week on the ground, but I mean, that turned out to be a losing effort. Yeah, I can see getting behind Nyheim Hines. The issue is I think that like Jamal Williams is just he's a bigger lock to be involved in this game, and he's kind of doing exactly the same things. Like he's going to get 4, 5, 6 touches on the ground, and he'll end up with like 5, 6 targets through the air potentially if the script goes right. Like I'm just looking down, like Kalen Ballage is down here. I don't want any part of that. What about someone like Darrell Williams against Oakland? If Damian Williams sits, I think the conventional wisdom will be that they're going to use LaShawn McCoy, but maybe they don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier to justify someone in they're a double-digit spread at home, high-octane offense. So if we get a word that some of the guys in front of him are cleared out, it could set the stage. But all of these guys obviously are playing either second fiddle, or there's volume issues or game script issues. You're not going to find anyone that checks all the boxes down here.
Like if Jordan Howard ends up playing against Miami, I'm just going to insert him in like 90% of my lineups.
What price is he?
$4,700.
Yeah, that's very reasonable.
But if he doesn't play, I will have like out of 10 lineups, probably 2 Ajayi lineups. Just to say, I'm gonna put in McCaffrey, all the highest end. I'll put an expensive tight end. I'll put an expensive quarterback. And I'll just have this outlier on my team, and hopefully he scores a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean that's what you're gonna go for now. It's not like you can't leverage that, but I will say that Jay Ajayi and Christian McCaffrey's ownership is going to be ridiculously correlated, because naturally, if you take Ajayi, you're going to have plenty of room. So that is something you want to consider with how you spend the rest of that salary.
Now, just to be fair, as we speak on a Wednesday afternoon, Jordan Howard has yet to be cleared for contact, so it's unlikely that he is going to play. But if somehow he's a game time decision and ends up in, his ownership is going to be close to 0, and he would be in a perfect spot. Like maybe we should just be using Miles Sanders. Like the Dolphins can't stop anyone. Maybe this is finally the week. Like who's worse, David Montgomery or Miles Sanders?
Ooh. Probably David Montgomery. I've been burnt. Miles Sanders. So I said this on the show over at Awesemo last week. The thing about Miles Sanders that I can't like wrap around in my head is he's been bailed out by these ridiculous catches. It seems like at least once a game he has like a 35-yard catch. And if he didn't have that, I don't know where we would be with him. So it remains to be seen exactly what he can do on the ground going forward. But this is as good a matchup as you're going to find. And like you mentioned, he is on the field a ton.
Well, let's talk about receivers, and we'll stick with this game for a second. Alshon and Aguilar are both practicing in full on Wednesday, so it looks like they're going to play. Arcega-Whiteside is probably going to have a larger role in this offense now that they've cut Jordan Matthews. Everyone's off the Eagles after just watching them be abysmal last week, and Carson Wentz does have a bruise on his finger, but he's not expected to miss any time. Like, could you envision yourself using like a Wentz, Alshon, Ertz stack, or is that just too stupid?
No, I mean, I used that, and I know it did not work. I used that last week in a lot of lineups, and it did not materialize. Now, Alshon, it looks like he's going to go. That's what really changed things for me. When he got ruled out, Ertz became like a premier play for me in my eyes, but I definitely think you can go there. Miami is lifeless, even though they played a little better here and there. No one's going to do that. Wentz still has the Q tag. That's going to suppress ownership. And I don't think any of these guys are really in danger of missing this game or even being limited when they are active.
The other injury to keep an eye on right now is Golden Tate has yet to pass concussion protocol. So he'll have time to do that. So maybe by Friday he's passed it and he's in. But if he doesn't play, do you have any interest in Sterling Shepard moving to the slot where he's been infinitely more productive over the years?
Yeah, I do. This is a guy that the targets are basically, it looks like 9 each game. And that's easy to justify. You have Slayton over the top as the home run. You've got Saquon in the backfield. And we know that Daniel Jones, as you mentioned, he doesn't seem prone to dump it down to Saquon. So he takes shots. I think Shepard would be in a really good spot against the Packers defense that, I don't want to say they're not what they were early, but at the same time, they're certainly not invincible by any stretch.
So if we don't take McCaffrey, we use this build that has like a $7,000 running back and 2 $5,000 guys. We can get access to the top of wide receiver if we want to. Tyreek Hill is the most expensive guy. by far at wide receiver, $8,900 against Oakland. I guess this is the Michael Thomas not on the slate tax. Godwin second at 77. Then it's Cooper Kupp at 71, Adams at 7,000, and Mike Evans at 69. Why is there such a discrepancy between Godwin and Mike Evans? Is it just because he was good last week?
I guess. I don't really understand that, obviously, because I see no difference. And it's hard not to like him. It's hard not to like Devontae Adams in a fantastic spot.
Adams is probably the safest guy of all these top ones.
Totally agree. He's going to be popular. There's no doubt, but I don't see many ways where he doesn't have a big game.
How about DJ Moore, who has the most targets in the league at receiver over the past 3 weeks? Like he finally found the end zone, which was nice, and he found it twice. But he's just basically, you can pencil him in for like 6 for 80 as a floor, essentially, at this point, and maybe he does more.
You said it. I mean, he was on my good lineup last week. I was lucky with that. I thought he got hurt, came back, catching touchdowns, and he's cash viable right now. The targets are there. Kyle Allen is looking his way early and often. I have absolutely no problem going to him. The question that I always struggle with, if you play him and McCaffrey, that's like $17,000. Do you just have to play Kyle Allen at that point?
I don't know, because the touchdowns are going to come potentially. I mean, maybe, and that is a way to save money. But I think that those two can independently be good, even if Kyle Allen is not.
Yeah, I mean, a couple weeks ago when he threw 4 interceptions, that was proof of that. But that's what I kind of struggle with. There's no doubt, though, that DJ Moore, regardless of your build, is someone that you're probably going to want to have exposure to.
So when I always just sign up for my contest right away, as all you people out there should do as well. Just go to the description. You can find the link to the Pat Mayo Experience open. But I just reserve 2 spots, and then I just fill out a dummy roster just based on like initial glance. It's the first time I ever look at the pricing. It's like a Tuesday evening, and the first thing that I did was like, oh, the Bucks are playing the Jags, so I did like a Foles DJ Chark stack.
Yeah, DJ Chark, 6,600. Tampa, they're the clear split in the league right now. They are the best DVOA team stopping the run, one of the worst, if not the worst, stopping the pass. So Chark is the way to go, and you're getting a reasonable price. He's sandwiched between Odell and Keenan Allen, Jarvis Landry, guys that probably going to get some love as well. So I'm going to look to him. It's just more of a question. Are we looking to him with Foles and maybe like DD, or are we just taking him as a one-off?
I think you can use him with Foles. I think taking him as a one-off and hoping for that big game could end up being the move. But if you don't use Christian McCaffrey, and we talked about that build, you could feasibly have Adams, DJ Moore, and Chark in your lineup if you wanted it. Or is that too many high-priced wide receivers, knowing that there's value at wide receiver down the board?
No, I mean, I don't like to have hard and fast rules, but I have found myself really cannibalizing the top in some instances and saying, you know what, there are so many guys in that like 6K range that have 30-point upside. You can mix and match 3 or 4 of them throughout a lineup, even if 3 of them are a receiver or something like that. I have no problem building like that and then paying down at things like defense and other positions.
So, pay down at defense. You got to pick right. It's the Giants this week, probably at 1,900.
Yeah. I mean, now that DraftKings has gone to more dynamic defensive pricing, it has made, like the Bengals were a reasonable. I should have just used them instead of the Cowboys. You can pay down, and the Giants are going to be one that I'll certainly consider as well at $1,900.
A potential slate-breaking play, you're going to have the guts to do it, because he's already talking about not playing this weekend, and he was abysmal on Thursday night. But TY at 6,200 against Tennessee at home, this is the type of game where he goes bananas.
Yeah, I mean, TY in the Dome, at home, these are all splits that actually make a difference with him. They need this game desperately. I do worry a little bit about his specific injury. It's a calf, not something that could flare up at any point, and he may be limited, but no doubt that's tournament winning upside, a guy that a lot of risk, but also a lot of reward.
Do you see yourself getting up to Tyreek Hill in anything that's not a Chiefs stack?
Probably. I mean, I know it's pretty early in the week, but not really. I don't think that's where I want to spend my money. And I think what you said at the beginning is actually true and worth noting. I think he's overpriced simply because Michael Thomas isn't here and Julio isn't here. And I don't really want to pay that premium for him.
Yeah, like I can see myself not using Hill, Godwin, or Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams are just
well. I talked about this on the spread show with Jeff and Tim. Like I was the only one who took the Rams this week, -3 on the road at Arizona. It does feel like a spot where they're just going to get it all back together for a game, and a high octane, like tempo offense like Arizona is the perfect team to do that with. I don't have the most faith in the world, but like if you wanted to use a Rams stack this week or just use like Goff by himself, like no one is doing that.
no, that's true. The offensive line is it's really holding it all back. Now you're right. Against the Cardinals, maybe they can regain some of that, and maybe Kupp can. He's still going to get the targets. The one thing I'll say this, you are going to get a significant ownership discount between someone like Devontae Adams and Cooper Kupp, but Adams is far and away the higher projected play.
Yes. So in that T.Y. Hilton range at 62, A.J. Green's right below him. There's no word yet on whether he's going to play or not. I would expect he's not going to play, but if he's active against the Jets with Dalton back, like you got to play A.J. Green, don't you?
It's interesting. I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see what word we get. Is he going to just be full go from the start? Is he going to be on some sort of pitch count? But it would be a pretty good, Dalton being back. I can't believe dynamic and Cincinnati don't really go together, but it's certainly an improvement of what we saw from Finley.
Well, yeah. Finley is the worst quarterback we've seen in football this year by far.
Ooh. Luke Falk, thanks.
Oh, yeah, Luke Falk. Yeah, I totally forgot about Luke Falk.
He was bad, real bad. But
like Finley, like he's really bad.
Yeah, no. I'm with you. The only guy that came to mind besides Finley was just Luke Falk. So I'm 100% in line.
So of the rest of the receivers, if we go below $6,000, so the ones that I like, it doesn't look like Juju's going to play. I like Cortland Sutton. I'm worried about Devontae Parker just because Philly's defense has looked a lot better recently. So I'd probably go with Cortland Sutton in that range at 5,800 if I was going to. Let's see. Sammy Watkins against Oakland. He just has so many unrealized air yards, probably because he drops the ball so goddamn much. But he's someone to look at $5,400 as probably the lower owned piece of that game. And then going down a bit lower, like it's the Bengals guys, really. Like Tyler Boyd at 55 or Auden Tate at 4,000 or wherever the hell he is, like 3,800. Those are probably the guys I'd go to.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're really left with. These are all, what I plan to do here is teams where I don't maybe pay up for that top guy. Maybe I can leverage it. So if I don't go get like Kupp, maybe I'll look to a guy like Woods. We'll see about AJ Green, but we got Tyler Boyd here. Robbie Anderson, maybe if we're going a little lower. No,
absolutely not. I've tried it so many weeks and then I didn't do it last week, and he wasn't even all that great last week for like people talking up like, oh, Robbie Anderson's back. It's like he had like an okay game.
He got a 1 yard. That Robbie Anderson is like the least likely guy to get a 1 yard touchdown of anyone in the league. Should have been Le'Veon. But that's neither here nor there. But even someone like you mentioned how, DJ Shark, do you have any interest in like Chris Conley? Saw 9 targets last week. Another way to get exposure to that Jags passing game.
Potentially. I don't think I'm going to play enough lineups for that to materialize for me.
Fair enough. Yeah, he's someone
like in that range. Like I'd almost play Bizarro, Robbie Anderson, Mike Williams at 60 for $4,600 and just hope he catches touchdowns for once.
Yeah, I mean, I assume Chris Harris will be tasked with slowing down Keenan Allen. That could present someone like Williams a chance, and that's what we get to down here. You got not a lot to like. The Tennessee guys, which I'm not going to mess around with.
Alex Erickson, if AJ Green sits, is like just anyone against the Jets secondary generally is a pretty good option.
I can confirm that.
Unless you play for the Raiders, apparently.
Embarrassing. Just beat down thoroughly. I should have known. I did not bet that game, but I should have just took the 3 points. Yeah, I mean, here with Dalton coming back, that is such a boost to these guys. They should have such more efficient targets coming their way.
You'd hope so, but I mean, we kind of do forget that Dalton was also terrible at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I know. It's just Finley, he's a rookie. I get it. He was just clearly overwhelmed. That's for sure.
Gonna go back to your main man, Alan Hearns at 4K.
Yeah, I do kind of owe him. You mentioned, I know Philly had been a secondary that it was like, oh, plug and play style. They've been playing a lot better with Parker. He had, I thought, a tougher matchup last week with Cleveland. I don't think I'm going to get there. He is seeing some targets. He was lucky to catch that late touchdown, though.
Yeah, and now it does, there's going to be no Jakeem Grant in this game. It doesn't look like Albert Wilson's going to play with a rib injury either. So it could just literally be him, Gesicki, and Devontae Parker. At least in this offense, well, it's not good. At least it's concentrated.
It's concentrated, and you have Fitz, who, if there's one thing we know he's going to do, he doesn't care. He'll take chances. Down 20, down 40, 5 picks. He'll just keep throwing it. And that is so huge when you're trying to get garbage time.
There is a distinct difference, though, between Alan Hearns being $4,000 and Alan Hearns being $3,300 from last week. Like, he was where you could fit in all these top guys because he was so cheap. Now he's not quite as cheap anymore.
Huge difference. I specifically got to him on some of those teams because of that price difference. And I doubt I would have got there if he was even close to this price tag.
So Auden Tate is $3,800. He strikes me as the best play of the guys who are in the $3,000 range. Maybe Demaryius Thomas at $3,600. But with Hunter Renfrow out, does that do anything for you with the Oakland guys? Whether it be, like, I'm not talking about playing like Zay Jones, but like Tyrell Williams or Waller?
Yeah, I mean, Waller is someone, he kind of like erupted, then it quieted down a bit. They're going to be trailing most likely. They're going to need to throw the ball. So you can look to someone, either of those guys. I really don't mind it. The problem I have with Oakland is I think you can look to those guys, but I don't think going to like Trevor Davis, Zay Jones, I don't care about Aitman or any of those guys. I'm not trying to get cheap value for them at all.
Any of the Cardinals receivers do it for you? Maybe an Andy Isabella bomb?
UMass. There it is. Our good alumni. There's so many guys like Pharaoh Cooper just involved. What is that?
It's it's a revenge game for Pharaoh Cooper.
It is. I remember him on the Rams. I don't think I'm going to get there. Outside, maybe if I use some Kyler, I'll just go and get Christian Kirk.
So it would be Christian Kirk, not Fitz, the one you would go to?
Yeah, I think so. Fitz for me has just been like, I feel like his game against the Niners is kind of showing you, even when you get it right, what you're going to get. Like, so, it's just not there.
So the game that we haven't talked about whatsoever, do you want any receivers from the Niners or the Ravens?
I don't, but I obviously, Hollywood Brown, it's so sick too, because in college DFS, he was amazing. One of the best players, my favorite player probably from Oklahoma. I never get to him, and he seems to just defy it, even with erratic targets. He's such a burner, and he finds the end zone. So maybe we are missing out.
Yeah, like even in this game, if you think
Debo
could be a play, or you just use the tight ends, like just go to Kittle and Andrews, and hopefully that's where the teams do their damage here.
God, Mark Andrews, I know it's probably misguided. I just never think of him like $200 less. I could get Waller. It's such a hard sell for me to go get Andrews in that spot.
Yeah, Waller's not been good over the past month.
No, but he's just, I don't know. I mean, then again, we have the one thing we haven't seen, and maybe we won't again. Baltimore's got a pretty sound strategy going where you just score early, get up, do your thing. Like, what happens if the Niners get the lead? Like, will Lamar be dropping back more? Will Andrews have more of a necessity to actually, maybe have some more targets? That remains to be seen because they just kill everybody.
Well, it's a very interesting scenario here because we haven't really seen the 49ers fall behind in many games either. So I'm curious to see what these teams look like if one of them gets their back broken a bit early. Like, can they actually come back? I have more faith that Baltimore can come back than San Francisco, actually.
Me too, but they crushed the Packers. I'm not a big, I'm not sold on the Niners. I'll say that much.
Yeah, well, I mean, Cust has just proclaimed them the best team in football. So
good. Now I'm certain that they are not the answer in the NFC.
Quarterbacks for the week. Mahomes is back off the bye week, presumably a lot healthier than he's been. He's the most expensive. He and Lamar are the only two above $7,000. I would say that if you're going to play one, just play Lamar. That's probably the way to do it. And his ownership might be down this week because he's playing the Niners.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that doesn't, I mean, I don't want to say it doesn't worry me, but he's just, you can't replicate the rushing. And it just racks up too fast. It's legitimately, 2 to 3 sometimes passing touchdowns worth of rushing. Never mind when he breaks the slate rushing. So I would just, if I pay up, it'll just be Lamar.
Who do you think is the white Lamar Jackson? Is it Josh Allen or Jeff Driscoll?
No, it's I played a lot of Jeff Driscoll last week. It didn't work.
Josh Allen. Hey, he did have 65 yards rushing.
Yeah, he did. That was about it though. Josh Allen is just amazing in all regards. He's sneaky fast. He runs for those first downs.
He hates.
They're not on the slate though.
He hates sliding.
He does. He probably is going to get critically injured at some point. Hopefully, he can stay upright. The Bills are 8-3. Neither of those guys. They're both on Turkey Day, and I probably will use them depending on what's going on there. Driscoll's hurt too. They might start someone I've actually never heard of.
Fun. I mean, this is going to come out after that happens, so people will know who it is if it's the guy that we've never heard of or Jeff Driscoll.
That's right. So,
I hope it is Jeff Driscoll because I bet Sealy that he'd score more points than Deshaun Watson this week.
Could be. Oh, okay. Yeah, that could be problematic on multiple fronts. Goff, I don't know if you're incepting me, but Goff is kind of interesting. Flat 6K. No one's going to play him. Arizona.
I don't even think you need to stack him either. I think if you just play Goff and just try to reap the rewards of it. As Paul pointed out to me before the show, Gerald Everett's dealing with this knee injury. Higbee is $2,500 against Arizona. If he is the only tight end available, that just Goff and Higbee, and there you go.
Yeah, I mean, we know how bad Cardinals are against the tight end. I kind of like that. And then, working down, I think like most weeks, it's who do you want to pair up? You've got Foles to his receivers. Do you want to use Carr to Waller, things like that? Or I don't know how much lower I'd be willing to go.
I think Andy Dalton's not unplayable at 47.
Yeah, I guess that's just such a ridiculous price point.
That's the whole thing. And if AJ Green sits, you could presumably play him with the only other two good players on their team, whether it be Auden Tate or Tyler Boyd.
And if you do that, you can literally basically play a pick'em around your stack, which is, of course, a nice luxury. You're just picking your favorite plays outside of your stack.
Yeah, you'd probably take Bell if that was the case
yeah.
with those guys, and then whoever else you wanted. Even just kind of looking at the rest of the quarterbacks right now, I think the lowest I would feel good about going, Foles at 5,700 is pretty good. Tannehill deserves some respect at $5,700.
Yeah, I wish he was a little cheaper. For me, I probably find the $100 and get Wentz.
Ooh, that's dicey.
It's dicey. All right. Tannehill, last week was just ridiculous. He ran a couple in. And I'm not saying he's above giving you some rushing, but I'll lean to Wentz and the Eagles over Tannehill.
Do you know who is becoming the mini Lamar Jackson? Especially if you can find props on his rushing over yards. He has, I believe, over 25 rushing yards in 3 of his past 4 games. Do you know which quarterback that is?
No.
Jameis Winston.
It's funny because every time they would go to that game, it would just be Jameis making miraculous runs. He does get there every single week. He throws a couple picks, and that honestly helps it. So maybe I should just take the lower hanging fruit. It's just the Jaguars' rushing defense is so bad. Maybe even Tampa, I know they're not a good running team, can find it on the ground.
That would be very tilting. That if all of a sudden, it would be even more tilting if it was like Peyton Barber who had the big game.
Yeah, Dari Owungawale somehow. That's not even possible. But yeah, if it's Peyton Barber, that would be incredibly tilting.
Where I'm having a tough time figuring out quarterback, and where it's still so early in the week as we talk through this. Where do you think that people are going to go? Lamar and Mahomes?
I think people will pay up with a lot of value. Quarterback is always somewhat spread out, but I guess them in terms of pay down options, I think people will probably, maybe I'm misguided. I would say Derek Carr just because people are going to see the game, see the big, the spread and think, oh, he has to play catch up, $5,500. I'll go there.
Trying to figure it out right now. No one has released like any like ownership
Yeah.
projections, and I just don't have a good sense of where people are going to go. But I do like that Wentz, Tannehill, Foles area is pretty good. And like I said, the first build that I had actually had Nick Foles in it. If you do want to save all the money, just Andy Dalton against this Jets defense is not a bad option, especially because they're good against the run as well. But maybe just stop overthinking this and just play Lamar Jackson in every lineup.
I mean, it's hard to argue against that right now. It's insane.
Yeah, like I think him at $7,000 is a better value than Tyreek Hill at $8,900.
Oh, yeah, it's not even close for me.
Tight ends. Talked about Higbee at the min if Everett sits. That's a decent play. The other play this week at $3,300 is just going to be Jack Doyle, now that Eric Ebron's on injured reserve.
Yes, this is my moment, I guess. I'm a big Jack Doyle guy. I've been waiting. He should be prevalent, especially we'll see with TY, but the targets should be there. Not Vance McDonald.
No.
Big mistake last week. Oh my God. Noah Fant's price getting a little up there. Of course, up top, we know, we've got the Kelseys and Ertz and Kittles of the world, but I agree. You have some reasonable spend down options.
If you were going to pay up at tight end, even if you did like use Doyle and use the tight end as your flex as a way to differentiate, who do you think it would be? I kind of like Hunter Henry.
I mean, if I could take anyone, I would just actually go, especially because I'm not going to have a ton of Tyreek. That makes Travis Kelce probably my guy.
Do you think people will use Kittle against Baltimore, or because people just watched him annihilate the Packers, that's just where they're going to go?
So, yeah, I mean, anytime you see, I think that when people see people in showdown and standalone games crush it, they automatically get a boost. And he dismantled the Packers, as we saw. So apparently the ankle is not a thing.
So Kelce, Henry, Doyle, those three. I think that you can get sneaky and try to play Waller because he just disappointed everyone last week. And without Hunter Renfrow, who was stealing some market share away from him, not around anymore, maybe he gets an uptick back up. And then if he can fade Dr. Moreau in the end zone, then he's looking pretty good. So he could be a low-owned play. I mentioned Higbee at the bottom. The other one, if Evan Ingram sits, Caden Smith is $2,900. He caught the touchdown last week. And this is if Ellison and Evan Ingram are both out. But he basically did not pass block last week. He just ran routes.
And that's, of course, what you're looking for. I'm just not sure how many different price points and what I'll need, outside of these I looked at like Nick O'Leary.
I played Nick O'Leary last week.
Now he's got the Jack Nicklaus connection. There you go.
He's the Irish assassin. He was like 4 for 40 or something like that. I was like, you know what? I made worse picks.
Yeah. I can confirm. I make a lot worse picks than Nick O'Leary in my life. But with reasonable targets at pretty much every level of tight end, I think I'll have someone I feel comfortable no matter what my build is.
Yeah, and if you have to spend an extra $400 to get to Jack Doyle, just find the extra $400. Pick a shittier defense or something.
Correct.
So defenses, if we do go in, do you have a pay up option that you like? Because I think the Eagles would be it for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because Dwayne Haskins, the Panthers, as bad as they are at stopping the run, I do think they can generate plenty of pressure, but they're just a little too expensive. The team that interested me was in the mid-range was the Broncos. Back at home, Chargers have just been a mess. Phillip Rivers has been awful. I like them at flat 3K.
Flat 3K. I think if you pay down, you can use the Giants or maybe even the Cardinals against Goff in that offensive line. Like, just pick on bad offensive lines. I'm kind of surprised to see the Chiefs at $2,700.
Yeah, me too. At home in Arrowhead, Carr, I'm sure they'll move the ball a bit, but they're not above anything. And then you got teams I'm not going to touch Baltimore probably. The Bengals, no strong take there. I think similar to tight end, you have reasonable options up and down the salary range.
Yeah. What about the Rams against Kyler? Kyler does get sacked a bunch.
Yeah, because he holds the ball just an insane amount. I don't know, with Jameis right above him, I probably would just pay $100 and just take the Jags and take my like guaranteed 3 turnovers.
So looking at it right now, the teams that have given up the most sacks so far this season that are on this slate: Tennessee, the Jets, the Skins, the Dolphins, the Broncos. Oh, maybe that's the play. Chargers D.
I mean, the Chargers D has disappointed me. I know they've had injuries and stuff.
They get Derwin James back. Both Ingram and Bosa are healthy. There's more injuries to the Broncos offensive line. This could be the move.
Okay. I mean, Brandon Allen, of course, is someone I feel pretty comfortable with my defense attacking. If the Chargers can get a lead in Mile High, that would be even better. Force them to not play conservative, because the Broncos games have been incredibly slow and incredibly grinded out lately.
So the only other one is the Skins at $2,500, because Carolina's offensive line cannot block, and Washington gets to the quarterback. You just have to think, how many times is Kyle Allen theoretically going to throw in this game? It's probably not a ton.
That's what worries me. And then on the flip side, and I don't like to project this too much, but it's not like Dwayne Haskins can't give Carolina ridiculous situations where your defense has like no shot.
Yeah.
And that can get dicey in a hurry.
All right. So for me, at the bottom, it's going to be Giants and probably the Chiefs at 2,700, because they'll be facing a ton of pass attempts with a good pass rush. And at the top, I like the Eagles and I like the Chargers the best.
So, yeah, I mean, for me, Eagles, Broncos, I like. And we didn't mention them. I'll throw one more out. I wish they had Myles Garrett, but I'm not super sold on old Duck Hodges just yet. We'll see what Cleveland can do in Pittsburgh at 2,600.
Well, you're a college football guy. Tell me about this guy.
Duck Hodges. So we went to Samford. And if you know anything about college football, you know that I would have no idea what that means, because Samford don't play in the FBS. That's a whole different animal. No idea about him. I think they run the triple option at Samford, but never seen him in my life.
I mean, he did play that one game and he wasn't awful. Well, he wasn't good, but he wasn't awful.
I mean, Rudolph is not the answer, obviously. So it took somehow this guy to unlock James Washington. We'll see. I think the Browns win this game. I'll say that for sure.
No, I just got a message from my gambling site that told me that they're committed to responsible gambling. I think they've been seeing how much I've been losing.
Oh, yeah, they want to keep you alive and well for sure.
Yeah, but I hedged out of my golf double last week, though, and won all the monies. It was great.
I saw that. Congratulations.
Thank you. I still have never actually hit a double in my life. This is the closest I've gotten to it. But, you know, when you parlay 2 winners in golf together, those odds creep up pretty quickly.
It gets dangerously insane. Me hitting doubles is not going to be happening anytime soon. I could barely hit singles.
Yeah.
But yeah, golf was bizarre. Tyler Duncan season. But yeah, who knows?
Is it weird that you came second in the Millionaire Maker in football and you gave out Tyler Duncan as a pick on the golf show?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I've been focused on football. I didn't really play a ton of golf. I've been kind of taking swing season light. Didn't even get to Tyler Duncan. I wish I bet him outright. That would have been the only thing that would have made this weekend sweeter, is if I had that ticket in the arsenal.
Yeah, what was he paying anyway? Like 250 to 1?
Yeah, he was, I believe, north of 2. I looked at it, not specifically for him, but I remember seeing his name and he was sky high, as he should have been.
All right. Ben Rasa, congratulations again on the big score. Don't lose it all back this week.
Not going to lose it all back this week. It'll probably be a slow drip back to mediocrity, but no, we're going to keep it rolling. I'm excited for the rest of the year.
Check out Ben on Twitter at JazzRazDFS and over on awesomemode.com and their YouTube channel, getting live shows at you every single day. Follow me, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at the PME. Cheat sheet will be out for DraftKings on Saturday. Told you about the draws, playing the Pat Mayo Experience Listeners League. It is the link at least, is in the description of this video or podcast. That'll do it for me. Hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. Good luck in week 13. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!